You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your host for today is B. Allen Bourgeois.
And welcome to Dear Texas. This is where we do encourage people to drop everything and read. And we always want to encourage you to read a great book by a Texas author. And today we have with us a gentleman by the name of Robert Pietzsch. Even though his last name doesn't look like the word peach, it is peach because, Robert, what is it? It's German or Slavic?
It's German.
German? All righty. Well, welcome. We're glad that you are here, and we're going to be talking about your books. Let's start with giving the audience a rough idea of what the book is about.
Okay, and thanks for having me on your show. I was thinking years ago that what would it be like if the smartest dinosaur that ever lived actually survived the mass extinction and evolved into like a humanoid being. And then I realized that the Troodon, which was about 6 foot tall and very, very smart dinosaur, that's where my Troman, the character in the story, evolved from.
Okay.
It's a science fantasy.
Right. So how did that come about? I mean, you're thinking of what would happen, but why? What brought you to that point?
My daughter, she was about 16 at the time, and I noticed that her science and history at school, she wasn't really getting a lot of education in that field, and so I decided to write a novel and to tie it in with an entertaining story, and at the same time put a lot of science and educational things like Mayan history. So I went down to the Yucatan, and I lived down there for quite a few months and did a lot of research on the Mayans and went to the ruins and saw a lot of the culture of the people there and ended up writing the book.
Okay, so that's quite interesting that you go from dinosaur to Mayans. Where else are you taking readers on this trip?
Well, I have a group of teens where they've just graduated from high school, and they go down to the Yucatan like an expedition to study the Mayan and a lot of the ancient civilizations, and they stumble upon a cave, and that's where they run into and meet this incredible being. He's like half reptilian and half human, and this is Troman. And he shares his vast knowledge with them and explains to them that his ancestors' civilization ruled the world long ago. And he shares what he believes will happen to Earth if the evil forces are not stopped.
Okay. Now, Troman is the name of your book as well, so it's named after the character.
That's correct.
Okay. A lot of people, especially authors, are always told to write what you know. Granted, this is, sci-fi, fantasy related, so your range can be anything you want it to be. But is there any fact and some historical aspect to this?
Well, Rod Serling once called science fantasy. So it's fantasy for young adults or for other ages too, but it's fantasy that's based on science. So I have a lot of information in there, and I have a lot of mythical type characters too, like the Watchers that are from the cosmos, and Chupacabra, and Brujas, the witches, and the Alush, the little Mayan dwarves.
Now, was there any particular reason you chose the Mayan? I mean, you said your daughter wasn't getting much education. Was that what she wasn't getting the education on? Was the Mayan industry, the Mexican background, the history, or was it just one of those groups that you're already familiar with or wanted to learn more about?
Since I had been reading quite a bit about the Mayans, I thought it was really interesting. And since I lived in Texas, which is not that far from Mexico, I just went on down there, and the more I read about it, the more interesting it seemed, and I thought I would just share it by putting it into a book. And at the same time, it has a lot of science, too, which, really doesn't have anything to do with the Mayans. So I just tried to combine it. I did have a book review. It was in the Galveston Daily News, and the lady, when she critiqued it, she said that it was science fiction at its best, along the lines of Star Wars and Harry Potter novels. So that was a real compliment.
Definitely, and quite extreme opposites as well. So lots of different little things in your book.
Yes. Yes, I've added quite a bit of, about the culture and the ruins and legends. I took a lot of the legends of the Mayans and the Olmec and the Aztecs, all three, and put those into a story form.
How long did it take you to write this?
I retired about 6 years ago, and even though I had been gathering a lot of research and information, over the years, these last 6 years, I really was able to combine it and put it all into more of a book form. So probably about 10 years total.
Okay. And you've ended up,
I'm planning on doing like a sequel and maybe even a trilogy. I have the material to do that. And I'm planning on writing the sequel with my wife.
Right. And that's what I was actually getting ready to say, is you had done enough research that you've ended up with enough to do a trilogy. You said you were going to be doing this with your wife. What got her involved in doing the story?
She's very intelligent, and I've always thought that when she retires, which is not going to be too much longer, that she was thinking of different projects that she could do, and that's when we decided that, hey, this would be good for us to do together, and so we're just going to kind of co-write it, even though I did the first one, the second one will be us together, and if we're lucky enough that these are successful, then when we do the third one, the trilogy, we'll probably do that one together too.
Okay. Do you find writing with your spouse to be a challenge?
No, not at all. I enjoy it. I love the research.
Have you written other things together?
Sir?
Have you written other things together?
No, we just decided this just recently.
So this will be your first big project, and you'll be testing each other's loyalty and love, huh?
Yes. I think it's going to be great, and she's excited about it. She has a lot of good ideas, and we've already got the first one. I've got it, already written, so we've got something to build on, and we already know, what's going to happen, and so it's going to be fun.
Well, during the first one that you wrote, was she one of your sounding boards? Did you go to her with ideas and feedback?
No, not really. The book was pretty much finished, and she, at the very end, I just kind of said, here it is. You want to, listen to it. So I just sit out on the patio and read it to her, and if she had any kind of input, she might say something then, but she didn't do any writing at all on the first one. But I hope that she contributes and we can do the second one together.
Good. Well, this will definitely be an experience for both of you, I'm sure, and it'll be quite a eye-opening avenue to see how the second and third novel come out compared to your first one where you did it by yourself. And usually a partner co-writer adds a little extra nuance to a storyline. So it should be interesting to see how it comes out for you.
I think one reason that the book reviewer said that she thought it kind of reminded her of Star Wars is because there is a big battle that takes place in the novel. So, and then there's some kind of surprise mythological characters that I haven't mentioned that's in the book too, that people, especially the young girls, I've had a lot of good reviews on Amazon. It's available on ebook through Kindle also, besides paperback.
Well, we're going to step away for a break at the moment, and then we will come back and talk more about your writing. All righty?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Brakefield and Berkey, 2017 award-winning authors of the Enigma Series techno-thrillers, have released their first book in Audible format. The Enigma Factor is the foundational story for the series' ongoing battles against cyber assassins using technology, today's weapon of choice. Explore the digital threats of fighting for lost identity, struggling with mutant computer viruses, or commodity market manipulation. EnigmaSeries.com reveals the intrigue and intelligence of digital combat in our 21st century. Available in paperback, ebook, and now Audible format.
Dear Texas would like to thank our sponsors.
Love to read? Love to meet authors in person? Then check out bookfestival.network to find a book festival in your region of Texas. We are adding book festival events throughout the year, so sign up to get notices and even a coupon towards purchase of a Texas author's book. Sign up at bookfestival.network. Texas Authors Institute of History is proud to sponsor the Hill Country Writing Symposium. This year's fall event will be held in Comfort, Texas. To learn more, go to writing.texasauthors.institute. A fun event with talented authors sharing ideas to help you grow as a writer. The 2018 spring event will be held in Wimberley, Texas in early May. Sign up at writing.texasauthors.institute today. Texas Authors is accepting entries into their 6th annual book contest. Go to books.txauthors.com and sign up. Contest is valid for Texas authors only and is open to anyone 18 years of age and older who published a book during the 2017 calendar year. Enter at books.txauthors.com today. Attention students in grades 6 through 12. Do you love to write? Texas Authors Institute of History is kicking off its first statewide short story contest for students. It's free to enter and a great way to begin your career in writing. Sign up at shortstory.texasauthors.institute for complete rules. Again, to enter, go to shortstory.texasauthors.institute. You can win cash prizes and an opportunity to be published. Hello, Texas authors. My name is Randy James, coming to you from my Carrollton recording studio, where I spend time writing and producing commercials for my radio endorsement clients, as well as my private freelance clients. I'd like the opportunity to help you sell more books with a commercial like this and get listeners of Dear Texas Radio excited about your title, all at a special introductory price, available to members of the Texas Association of Authors. Call or text 214-762-1942. That's 214-762-1942. Brazos Valley Book Festival is September 23rd at the Ice House in Bryan, Texas. To learn more about the 60-plus authors attending, visit their website at brazosvalley.bookfestival.network. That's brazosvalley.bookfestival.network.
You are listening to Dear Texas Radio, where we encourage Texans to drop everything and read. Your host for today is B. Allen Bourgeois.
And welcome back to Dear Texas, where we do encourage people to drop everything and read, to have a good book to sit back with and enjoy the relaxation, the fun of whatever it is you read. It could be from science fiction to something nonfiction, almost anything that allows you to just relax and let your mind enjoy a wonderful little story. And we have with us Robert Pietzsch, who is talking about his book, which is Troman, a sci-fi fantasy slash mystical / almost everything else you can kind of imagine for a fiction story. Welcome back, Robert.
Thank you.
So it took you a long time to do a lot of the research and stuff like this. Was this during the time that you worked for M&M and Mars candy company?
No, I had already retired from there, and I was working for the Army Corps of Engineers here in Galveston. But I was working, through a lot of that time, and I was at M&M Mars when I had the idea and was already working on it at that time. And yes, I was in the laboratory as a food chemist, working with candies like Starburst and Skittles and Twix and Snickers.
Right. So that makes me kind of wonder, with your imagination for this particular story, is that what helped you create the tropical Skittles and the wild berries and all that other stuff?
I was on the team that developed the tropical and wild berry Skittles, and I guess working there helped because the Alouche in my novel, they love fruit candies, so I guess it had a little influence.
Well, you said you are getting ready to write the second and third book, and you're going to be doing it with your wife. So for you, what have you learned through the process of writing?
Well, one thing I've learned is that I would want to try to have young adults read more, and I've met a lot of young people, which has really kind of influenced me and made me feel good that I wrote something for young people. And I've also had another thing I learned was when I had my professional editor, which I had through Amazon. She gave me a good a review, and she said that she thought my manuscript was well written and that the plot and the characters were original, and she said I did a good job of creating believable characters with real issues and complex motivations, and that there are many suspenseful moments in the story. So I learned that from writing.
Good. And do you have any words of recommendation or encouragement for future writers?
Yes, I think that anyone who has an idea or a dream and that they want to get started, but it's hard to sometimes to put it down into writing, to just go ahead and do an outline and just take notes anytime you come up with ideas or things like would be sentences that could be text, and to go ahead and write it down. And then once you get started, the characters kind of take their own course, and it gets easier and easier. But I would just say to go ahead and start it, and they'll be surprised that the project will be very rewarding for them, and I recommend it for all people.
Great. Now, with your book out, and it is your first one, with today's publishing world, marketing is a real major item for authors. How have you gone about marketing your book?
Well, I've been to several, book conventions, and I've also, like I said, I have it on ebook, and also I think that it would be a really good movie. I've had a lot of reviews on Amazon, and the majority of them said that it would be a really good film. So I've been contacting some production agencies. Another person thought it would be a great video game because it has so much action and there's so many different little stories within the story. And even an animated movie would be something to consider. I've contacted a couple in Houston. And then just the merchandising alone with all those characters like the Alouche and the Chupacabras, you can see how you could have all the little figures and things for merchandising for the stores. So that's just a few of them. I was thinking of Andy Serkis, the person that played Gollum. I think he would make a real good Zephyr, and he's the evil, hideous chupacabra that's in the book. So I've been checking out different avenues, maybe translating it into Spanish, since it's the setting is in Mexico. And I do have a YouTube trailer that I've had a lot of people say they love the trailer. You can Google it at Troman Official Trailer. That's just one word. If you Google it, Troman Official Trailer, and then you'll see Robert Pietzsch. It's pronounced Pietzsch.
Yes, and the video is actually on our website at books.txauthors.com. They can find you both under your name and also under the book, along with the sample chapter for people to read and get hooked on the storyline. Where else? You said it's an ebook. You said it's on Amazon. Is there anywhere else that's available?
No. I know Goodreads might have it on there, but as of right now, that's where I have it.
Okay. And how soon do you plan on having your second book ready?
Well, that's a good question. It depends on how this first book goes. If it really, catches on, and I've noticed that people who actually start to read it and then continue reading it, the more they read it and then go all the way to the end, that's when they really seem to like it, because it has a really good ending. And if it catches on and does really well, then I'll have that sequel. My wife and I will do that quickly.
Okay. Well, it should be quite an interesting story to see what you do with the sequel, especially a trilogy, because that's never an easy thing to do. But having your wife added into the mix for doing it, that will be quite interesting as well to see what you come up with.
Yes.
Do you have any plans to write any other type of book or anything?
Not at this time. I have written down a few that I thought would be a good idea, but right now just marketing this and going to different shows and like Comic Cons and things like that I'm pretty tied up with just this novel right now, but we'll see what happens, and I may go ahead and write some other books later.
Like you said earlier, you're jotting them down for future use.
Yes.
Great. So, excuse me, with everything else that's been going on, you live on the island. There's got to be some kind of story idea there that is developing in your mind or something.
Yeah, sometimes I get ideas from dreams, like 4 o'clock in the morning, something like that, when I'm just kind of half awake. Sometimes I'll just kind of really get some ideas. I guess my mind is really relaxed at that time. And sometimes I'll dream things, and then I'll just write it down, and then I'll come back and make it into a story. That's one thing about my novel. Everything is original. There's nothing, it's all completely different than anything else that you see out there. And that was one thing that some people said, all these movies they have today, it's just they have more and more of the same, over and over of the same movies. Well, my novel is original, and everything in it, I just came up with it myself.
Well, that's great. The reason I was asking about Galveston, because I know the rich history it has, not only the Galveston storm, but also it's been part of the pirate history, Civil War history. It's so many things that island is well known for. So there should be lots of goodies for you.
Is really nice, and it has all the history and everything in that Bryan Museum now. if you ever come to Galveston, be sure and go to the Bryan Museum. It tells all about, from the Alamo to the Jean Lafitte, and it has a lot of history of Galveston in there.
Oh, great. Well, I want to thank you for your time, and we're anxious to see how the second novel comes out. So when it does come out, please let us know so that we can share it with our readers, and we thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you letting me tell my story.
It's a pleasure. You take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
I want to remind our listeners that we are getting ready to launch our first annual statewide short story contest for grades 6 through 12. It kicks off August 15th, and will run through January 5th. So plenty of time for the students to get down and create some wonderful short stories that can possibly get published. There are prizes, there are awards and things of that nature. As I said, it is statewide in Texas, so it will be divided into 5 regions, and then there will be top winners for the state as well. To learn more about that, you can go to our website at shortstory.texas.network at bookfestival.network, and network is spelled out. So you can learn where the latest book festival There are plenty of events going on throughout the rest of the year, and we're also planning some new events in Galveston and Giddings and San Angelo. So definitely take a look and check them out. In the meantime, thank you very much for listening, and we hope to see you on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Our shows are aired live at Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Thank you, and y'all have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Dear Texas Radio. To learn more about Dear Texas and its literacy programs, please visit their website at deartexas.info. I am Alex Anthony, your announcer.